With the game set up, the French face off against the Allied and Prussian forces. What follows is an abbreviated sequence of play to help you better understand the flow of Napoleon Returns. A die roll determines the weather for the turn. A roll of 6 means rain, which reduces movement for both sides. The French player moves first, using a base number of 4 movement points with a variable number added each turn with a die roll. Army commanders move for free, but infantry corps may move from one location and cavalry 2 locations without reducing their cohesion points. If an infantry corps uses a second movement point, it will cost them 1 cohesion point on its track sheet. The movement points allow forces to move from town to town on the maps as connected by the roads. Keep in mind that any number of friendly units may occupy a location. However, any friendly unit moving into the same location as an enemy unit must stop. As soon as all the movement points are used up, the sequence moves to the next phase. Combat occurs when units of both sides occupy a location. The active side determines the order of combat in terms of which location is resolved first. Combat will require the use of the combat card deck. Shuffle the deck of cards with each side getting a predetermined number. For the active player, that number will be based on several factors, which include the number of corps present, the cohesion level of each corps, and if an army commander is present, his combat rating. The non-active player will receive up to 2 additional combat cards if the active player's forces crosses a river to attack their location. Combat starts with the attacker playing a card from their hand. If the defender matches the attacker's card, this represents the first round of combat. The defender can choose not to play a card and accept defeat. If the defender matches the attacker's card, they can choose to counterattack by rolling a die. If the die roll is equal or less than the defender's tactical rating for the counterattack, they become the attacker for the next round. Reinforcements may happen for both sides between rounds of combat. This assumes that the units are in adjacent locations to the combat area. Remember that no unit may participate in 2 or more separate combat locations. Combat rounds continue until a winner is determined. If the attacker or defender wins, then their opponent must retreat. Units which lose combat must take a point loss on their cohesion track, and an additional loss for retreating. Units of the inactive player should retreat to locations occupied only by friendly units first, next to locations that have no units present, and then locations with unresolved combat, and finally, enemy-occupied locations where the retreating units will suffer an additional loss of cohesion, followed by retreating to another friendly or unoccupied location. They cannot retreat along roads in which the active player used to enter the location. Active player units that must retreat should do so along the roads in which they entered or reinforced the combat location. The French win if at the end of any game turn they occupy both of their objectives. The Allied and Prussian players win if they avoid the French victory condition by the end of game turn 15. Either side may win by eliminating 4 corps of the opposing side. Ties go to the Allied and Prussian player. In the next video, play examples from the rulebook will be demonstrated.